Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen, and we went into the detrimental effects of mortgage-backed securities as Wells Fargo made a massive move. As of recently, it became a viral video. We saw what happened in 2007 with the mortgage-backed securities.
No surprise there.
Now Wells Fargo is up to no good again, and it doesn't surprise anyone. But John, what are they up to now?
Well, not to mention just their settled lawsuit on these bank accounts that they're fraudulently creating.
Of course, yeah, it's insane.
For people, right?
That actually hit the mainstream, unlike most of this stuff.
Yeah, and now there's another scandal, of course. Well, they've been out lending car loans to people, and what they didn't tell people was that they charged them insurance on their car without their consent. And it was 570,000 customers that this happened to. And actually over 20,000 of these customers had their automobiles repossessed because of that charge. So what's happening here now, this lawsuit is $80 million that's coming in right after, of course, they settled about these new account frauds that they had. So it's another fraud, and they actually call it, CNBC says it, lawsuit says Wells Fargo auto insurance charges were fraud. Oh, so it's just a massive fraudulent activity with these banksters. It does not stop, Josh. Like, what do we have to do in order for people to understand that most of these big banks, like, they have to survive on fraud now because they extended the monetary system to almost to the brink of extinction, so they have to go towards fraud and all these extra charges on top of all the charges they get in order to make enough money to pay their shareholders. They're plummeting into a hellhole with all these massive amounts of debt that they created. They're really destroying society.
Well, absolutely. The manipulation in the markets and the monetary system is real, folks, from fiat currency to the manipulation and creation of bubbles in the stock market. We saw that with the mortgage-backed securities, collateralized debt obligations, and credit default swaps. We also see that with auto-backed securities, which we've also reported on. Loans, more debt, more manipulation of the markets and derivatives and insanity, and it all comes crashing down in the end. But John, can you go a bit deeper into this recent story?
So just one quick story about the person here that says that he was charged $598 for insurance, and as he repeatedly told the bank that he had coverage from Allstate, which is another big insurance provider in the United States. So this just shows you that they blatantly ignore the people, and it was just a complete fraud. Like, these fraudsters, of course, they changed the CEO, everything will happen with all these great employees that was there defrauding everybody, just get rid of some and then everything will be fine. No, people actually levitate towards this fraudulent activity because they see that, in a bank I could do whatever I want, I could rip people off, I could steal their money. So that's why you have more criminals filling in, as you have some criminals getting thrown out because of this fraudulent activity. Wells Fargo, of course, you have Warren Buffett is one of the biggest behind Wells Fargo, and Warren Buffett recently saved a massive bank failure here in Canada, which was Home Capital Group, which had a $13 billion bailout basically from Warren Buffett. So you're seeing this guy Warren Buffett, he's out there, with his bank, and he sat down, talking very nicely. Maybe had his ice creams, licking his ice cream. I was talking to the bank CEO and said, like, "Oh, you bad naughty boy."
Meanwhile, he endorses a lot of their practices. I mean, the whole government and banking system work hand in hand, and as Jeff Berwick often says, the banking system and the government are the two greatest enemies of mankind. And with their combined manipulation of markets, the monetary system, and how they drive people into poverty, debt, drive up inflation, cause bubbles to burst, I mean, these people are the greatest enemies of mankind. And it's time we start talking a bit more about why these problems happen instead of these faulty solutions that people bring forward that cause more problems.
Yeah, well, why it happens, Josh, is because they have the license to print money out of thin air. These commercial banks, they can print with excessive reserve. Here in Canada, we have zero reserve policy, which is even worse. But with excessive reserve, you can basically print, 10 times more money out of whatever you get deposited into your bank account. So now the government, you know, goes into debt, they actually take, let's say let's make it simple, $100 out of the bank account of the Federal Reserve, printed out of nowhere, right? Like it comes out of, woo, you know, it's magic, right? And then it gets deposited into a bank, into JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, whoever it is, and then Wells Fargo or whoever it is takes what they call an excessive reserve from that money, which is $90, and that money, and then they have no, sorry, it's $91, and then they have $9 that they call just a reserve. Now that excessive reserve, you thought that they would just take it out of the $100 that they just put into the bank account. No way. No, they actually put it into circulation as brand new money. So now you have $191 in circulation, and it goes on like this every time that money gets deposited around into the system until there's 0 cents left on that deposit. So you get, you know, from $100 you get $1,000, right? So this whole fraudulent system that they have, and of course that's why they borrowed out to all these auto lenders, you know, and student loans. They want more and more people into debt because they need to feed that massive system of well, first of all, it's non-productive and unbacked debt. You're buying stuff that is not creating any value for most people, unless you actually are a truck driver driving, you know, a truck every day and making money off of it. There's no productive value of, you know, getting all these loans, and of course what happens is you have to have more and more interest in order to sustain it. Well, it comes to a point where there's no more people left to borrow that unsustainable money to, and then you have a collapse, and that's where we're going right now. You've seen, we've been talking about Carmageddon, and this goes right into that, showing how bad it was. Yeah, obviously they have what I like to call the irritable bowel syndrome of the markets, ABS, auto-backed securities. The Carmageddon's here. Gasoline demand is down about 6%, and with the collateralized debt obligations in the housing market, we see, as we've kind of gone into loosely before, was the fact that what they do is they put a whole bunch of bad mortgages together, and say they package 100 bad mortgages together, and they put 3 good ones in there and sell them like that, and then AAA rating based on the top 3, and it's a fraud, it's a scam, and people are getting screwed over by this at a massive scale because it pushes people into debt and poverty, and that's exactly what the system wants, because a populace in debt is a populace in servitude. As they throw you down the bottomless pit of debt, as I often say, you have no choice but to ask for a ladder up from the government and the banking system, and that puts you in perfect servitude to them. Yeah, because what happens is this massive inflation forces and taxation from the government forces us to get out into debt, because what you're seeing, a combination of inflation and taxation, what happens is that you see you know, Canada, Norway, Finland, Denmark, all these big socialist countries, they have a massive amount of private debt because people actually have to get into debt in order to have what they had before. Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we close it off, John, want to walk with me here? So I really hope that you guys all start looking into this more. It's going to affect everyone in the long run. We're going to see a massive bubble burst as we did in 2007. We're going to see a massive, not just a recession, but an absolute dollar crash as all fiat currencies eventually revert to their intrinsic value of 0. Eventually, can't put a date on it due to the level of manipulation in the monetary system. But with that said, we have to educate people as much as we can, and lately YouTube has been mass demonetizing YouTube channels like ours because we are basically equated with the ISIS videos. They censor us at the same rate as they censor ISIS videos when we're talking about freedom and we're trying to educate people about the markets and the monetary system. You know who's the real terrorists? It's the financial terrorists, like the big banks. They're terrorizing the people and enslaving them together with the central banksters. Absolutely. So with that said, I hope you guys check the links below. We can't do it without you. I mean, really, at this point, we are in desperation because they are really trying to shut us down. So check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially with all this vast censorship. The Ministry of Truth is real, folks. And also check our Bitcoin address in the description in the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan, if you please. Yeah, it's over John's face here. And also check me out at Josh Sigurdson, and check John out at The Economic Truth.
at steemit.com. That's steemit.com. The future of social media as Facebook gets crushed. The antidote. It's one of many. We still have to operate outside of our bubble, but it's important that we have these alternatives with us. So steemit.com. It's where you get paid via the upvote and demand of your post in cryptocurrency. So we hope you check that out as well. And check out John's book, Canada, the Greatest Economy in the World, ? At Amazon.com. It's a great book, and I'm the foreword on it, and I'm proud to be. And it's something that people need to understand, even outside of Canada. It's very important information.
Just one quick thing, you know, we tried to have a book launch at McNally Robinson here in town, and they actually said, oh, we would be pleased to carry your book, but unfortunately we think your book is not, this is not the right venue to launch your book.
Too controversial. They don't mind the money, but they don't like the publicity. Yeah, absolutely. So check out that book as well. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.